This is Swordtail No Last Name, and I present to you. What does it mean to deserve something? While the title of this slideshow is rather misleading, the topic is actually about Dick Cheney. So Dick Cheney, he gets saved by his doctors a lot. So he had his first heart attack at age 37, which I guess is pretty well known. He was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes for 20 years before then. So I guess this would make sense, especially if he had family history of cardiac issues. I don't think smoking would help that at all. In fact, I think smoking did bad. I'm not a big fan of smoking. Uh, the next part. Dick Cheney was a huge proponent of the Iraq War. So what do these two things have to do with each other? Well, I'll get to that. But we have to consider the next point. A lot of people died in the Iraq War. I didn't specify here, but I'm talking about the Iraq War. A lot of people died. And lastly, this is what brings it all together. Are we utilitarians today, or what? So, all this is actually one huge topic. So, you got this man who has health issues, and you got this man who has health issues and kind of instigated this whole thing where people died. And then you have the question, if his doctors didn't save him, would the world be a better place? And I'm not going to answer that question because that's not the important part. The important part is that people want the doctors to not save him. That's the bad part. That's the part I don't like about this. I'm not going to argue whether the world would be better off without Cheney. I'm going to argue that you shouldn't kill Cheney. So, first of all, we have to acknowledge that people dying is bad. We got these estimates off of the most trusted source, Wikipedia. Got the lowest estimate being a small YouTuber small YouTuber fandom, like 100,000 deaths. You got 100K dead people, and many of these are civilians. So that's that. We can all agree that people shouldn't be dying in swaths like this. If you don't agree, just imagine, if it was Americans dying like this, if you're an American and you're like, well, they were the enemy, we should kill them all. Think about think about it. You want the Americans dying like this? No, you don't like that. No one likes dying. I don't like dying. You don't like dying. We all don't like dying. It's not a matter about nationality here. It's about how much we don't like dying. So now that we've gotten the first point out of the way, that there's a lot of dead people here, that we have to talk about the second part. So Dick Cheney, he was the guy who alleged that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. And then he was like, guys, we have to fight them. And then this all happened. Well, that's a simplified version of events because I don't actually care much, and that's about as much as I'm willing to read about it. I'm not a big fan of history reading. I mostly just skim Wikipedia, and it shows. I might not be the most trusted source, but whatever. Now we got utilitarianism here that they would be unhappy about the whole people dying thing because utilitarians, they consider every human as equal. Like, even if you got this serial killer and you got this random man, if the random man dying would save like hundreds versus the serial killer dying only saving like 5 people, you kill the random man. That's like what utilitarians do, and it's stupid, but it's like the ends justify the means, and that's consequentialism. That's where your consequence, as the name suggests, it is what sets the standard of right and wrong. Utilitarians don't really care about the individuals. We got two of them here. One is a proto-utilitarian, The other one is Bentham, who is the utilitarian. His picture is smaller because I don't like him as much. I, I mean, like, I might be biased, but what's he went against the Confucian ideal of filial piety. He said that you should be loving everyone equally, not just your family, and people didn't like that. The poor guy. I don't agree with the he should care about everyone thing, but you know, it was a nice thought, and I appreciate that. So what utilitarians like is the trolley problem. The trolley problem is very attractive to utilitarians. Everyone knows what this is. It's very easy to understand. You're the sad man here, and these like screaming people are the ones that are about to get run over by the trolley. You have a lever here. You can change the track to this one where only one screaming guy will die. Usually people will say, yeah, yeah, I'm pulling that lever because only one person dies versus five people. But then you have the variations. See, the base trolley problem is decently simple. Most people would say kill the one guy. But then you got people saying, oh, but what if he was Albert Einstein? Well, most people wouldn't want to kill Albert Einstein, and then people make it even more skewed in that manner by saying, oh, these five people are all useless to society, they're all hobos, they all muck about on the streets and do like drugs. And then you're more inclined to kill the five people versus the one, because the five people are not as useful as Albert Einstein. Well, first of all, I'd like to say, who are you to determine worth? That's not something you just get to choose. That is part that is something no human should be able to determine for you. Like how worth it are you to society? That's the kind of thinking that gets Adolf Hitler in charge. So you got this trolley, and the utilitarian would, without fail, kill the one guy each time. Unless, I guess, if they're a specific type of utilitarian, when these people are all like comatose patients or whatever, they have no chance of recovery. This guy's just a healthy dude. They would run these guys over because some euthanasia proponents would be like, well, you're lessening the suffering. And that's another variation. There's so many variations on this that there's a lot of absurd ones. There's a lot of ones made up for the memes. And there's a lot of ones that think they're really serious, but then just end up memed all over. Because the trolley problem itself, it's just what people who are just getting into ethics, that's what they like to do. They like to do trolley problems. In reality, no one's ever going to make you do this. No one's ever going to make you kill one guy versus five, because I don't think people just end up tied to tracks in this manner and scream like, would you kill the one or kill the five? Save the five for the one, and then you have to pull the lever, and you're really sad about it. There's also a one with like a fat guy where you have to push a fat guy to save like everyone, but I don't really get that one because that one you're just actively committing murder, and it's not like in real life you would have any guarantee that it would work. So that one's just stupid to me. But this is a trolley problem. That I don't like the trolley problem. I think it's a waste of time, but I'm wasting my time on it with my own free will. So, and free will is another topic that people get their get their hackles up about. But whatever. I'm not Stubb from Moby Dick. I don't think everything's predetermined. You can think that it really doesn't matter. Well, I made my own trolley problem here. So I think you'll find this one really amazing. This is the Dick Cheney trolley problem. So it's basically the same thing, except now the trolley is metaphorical. So we're adding a layer here. Well, I'm going to be like your English teacher. We're adding layers to this. This is not just their typical trolley problem. So you got Dick Cheney here. He looks really smug for a man who's like tied to a track. And then you got all the people who died in the Iraq War, right here. So let's think about this. So the key parts of this problem are: what do we mean by we're going to run over Dick Cheney? I'd like to present this. Well, both of these. So these two, this one's a pacemaker. This one's a centrifugal heart pump. What I mean by this is that his heart is bad. So the pacemaker had been there for probably many years. He had heart attacks, he had heart issues, he had um basically everything bad with his heart. It was also a thing that he needed multiple surgeries during the vice presidency. He also had atrial fibrillation, and he also basically needed a lot of surgery, spent a lot of money. Well, I guess someone poorer than him would have probably just died. So money does help. Money does help when you want to live. But what I'm getting at here is some people say his doctors should have let him die. And what I mean by that is over here we have the 5 bodies, but instead of 5, it's actually like, I guess, over 180,000 people. So just imagine all of those guys lined up here, and this is some super trolley, because if you don't kill Dick Cheney, all of those people are gonna get run over. So that's what those people think the problem is. They think that Dick Cheney, if he was dead, these dead people would be alive. They would be alive and well, and all thanks to the lack of the heart pump. They this thing is amazing though. Like, Dick Cheney, he survived for like 15 months with his heart not really making a pulse. His heart was like failing, by the way, because they put a pump in him. Then he got a heart transplant and all was good. He's living long for someone with all these heart issues. I'm impressed. I'm honestly impressed. So this is what people think the Dick Cheney trolley problem is. Now let me present why you shouldn't do this. Like, you shouldn't let Dick Cheney die. So people need to have a respect for medical ethics. So the 4 basics of medical ethics are the respect for autonomy. You might want to save your patient, but your patient might not want to save themselves. And sometimes the treatment is like risky, so that's reasonable. And sometimes it's just like anti-vaxxers. That's why you can't force people to get vaccinated, because you gotta respect their autonomy. If you take that away, it's very easy to continue taking other rights away, and then it gets to a big whole mess. And then you have beneficence. A practitioner should always act in the best interest of the patient. So we want stuff that will benefit the patient. You aren't trying to kill them. This is also like this is very important, I'd say. You I mean, like, that one's kind of basic. That one's obvious. The not obvious one is non-maleficence. So not only should you have the best interest of the patient in mind, it's better to not cause harm than to try to do good. That's what's important. So pushing risky treatments is not exactly the ethical practice. That doesn't really have anything to do with what's at hand here. But yeah. Justice, triage, you get to determine who needs what the most. And then you got the bit of the Hippocratic Oath here. So you're not supposed to poison people. That's what he's getting at. Neither will I administer a poison to anybody when asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a course. Yeah, euthanasia goes against beneficence because, well, you're dying. And of course, the patient is the priority, not what the patient might go on to do or cause. Like your patient might be some evil dictator man, but you still gotta respect the medical ethics. The patient is the priority. You're not supposed to kill peoples. So here we have a really good diagram. So we got Dick Cheney. He's really afraid because I've got this really sharp knife. It's a metaphorical knife because I'm not going around stabbing people, you see. So it's this metaphorical knife, and Dick Cheney, he doesn't like that. So why would I not kill him? Why is this not allowed? Why do I have a big no sign over this? Well, for one, letting him die, like refusing treatment for him would be against medical ethics, and that's not good. You should always try to save the patient. A good doctor will not just let you die for their own personal beliefs about you as a person. And it's generally not a good idea to kill people. I'd say, though I'm not truly a pacifist, I don't believe in going around and saying who deserves to die or not. So, Dick Cheney, you're safe with me. You're safe with this suspicious looking man here. You're safe with me. I will not stab you to death. Here's another example of why people shouldn't lean too hard into the trolley problem mindset. So here's another one of those really stupid ethical questions. So you got four patients, each with a different organ failure or malfunction or whatever, and you just have this suspiciously healthy person asleep here with all of the organs needed to fix these people. And the question here that people ask is, would you kill this person to save these four? I bring up this because this problem is just not good because there's a chance your organ transplant will fail and the patient will have adverse reactions and die anyways. This is also murder. You're killing someone. So this is not a good problem because I'd say if your doctors are considering killing healthy people to save sick people, that they should not be practicing medicine. That's not good. And here is another slide that I created. You don't have the right to determine whether someone deserves to die or not, and neither does anyone else. And you are all acting like Cora Tull from As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. So if you don't know, Cora Tull is this super Christian lady who thinks she has the right to judge whether someone is in God's eyes a good Christian or not. She's very judgy. And you all are very judgy if you are thinking like, well, this guy would be better off dead. Well, maybe you shouldn't be determining that. I personally don't think I have any right to say this guy deserves to be rotting or whatever. I only say that as a joke to like people who already died, like John Adams. John Adams deserves to be rotting. That's for sure. He lived way too long. Why did he die at over 90 years old? That's not fair to me. That's not fair to me, his son, anyone else, probably the world. The world was made worse by him. His actions were just like mediocre, but it's just his presence made everything so much worse. Alright, Genie spin, whoa!